As somebody who spent a lot of years in a state of constant anxiety, I can tell you right now, boys, living with confidence is a million times better. And one thing that I always try and instill in my clients and most people around me, and most people that I talk to really, if I know this is an issue, is how important this is in developing real, true confidence. Because confidence allows you to just be yourself and be authentic. And there's kind of like a stereotype of confidence where it's quite loud, almost like you want the eyes on you, right? You want all the attention. And that's performative confidence. It's not real confidence. Real confidence is just you don't give a fuck, basically. You're just free of other people's judgment. You don't seek validation. You're happy with who you are and you're happy with what you present to the world, which frees you of all of the pain and the suffering and the worry and the stress of what other people are going to think. And I can't stress it enough. If you have any feeling of anxiety at all, even if you don't consider yourself an anxious person, but maybe it just shows up every now and again in certain situations, you have to attack it. Life's too short to be living in this state, right? You have to attack any feelings of anxiety or at least do something about it, take action. Confidence gives you the balls to go after what you actually want. And on the other side of it, anxiety itself doesn't, it's not just anxiety that gives you an endless list of wants that you never pursue, but it's more so just, I could have probably changed that. I could have probably had a confidence gives you the balls to go after what you want. Lack of confidence, maybe you're not anxious, leaves you with an endless list of wants and desires in your mind that never make it out of your mind, that you never go and pursue, even though you wanted them. And on a surface level, you've got missed conversations, you've got not approaching that girl, you've got not asking for the promotion, not asking for the pay rise, not putting your hand up in the board meeting and trying to impress people and suggesting your idea for fear of what people are going to say, which does have a real cost. But on a deeper level, it's how your life unfolds from living this way, and the butterfly effect of these small decisions and actions that we can't fully comprehend. But it's safe to say, if you at least try and get what you want, there's a level of satisfaction within you that knows that you tried, right? Confidence doesn't mean that you're going to be successful in everything you try and do, but it means that at least you have the balls to live congruently. At least you're trying to interact and get what you want from the world, which is the same as, like, it matches your mind, right? Oh, I really want this thing. I'm going to go and at least fucking try. It's a lot easier to deal with rejection if you've tried, or failure if you've tried, than being, not being rejected, than never trying and having that kind of just building in your mind, and you knowing that you're not really out there trying to attack life and get what you want. So it's very important. And another thing that I want you to think about is you're already closer than you think. Confidence and anxiety are both hypothetical beliefs in the unknown, in the future. And they give you a feeling in the present moment. So if we look at anxiety, it's the negative prediction of what could potentially happen. It's just a figment of your imagination, nothing more, nothing less. It's just pessimism and worry. But it gives you a feeling in the present moment. Now, what happens in the present, if you're already anxious, will reaffirm what you had in your mind, right? So it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where you get so worked up about what could happen, and it affects you in the present moment, even though it's hypothetical and it's not actually real. And because you're then living in that state, it ends up becoming true. And this was a cycle that I was stuck in university, where I was so scared of talking to people, like new people, and I was so scared of talking in lectures or being asked a question, that I'd get in my own head about it, and the times when I did get called upon, I'd fuck it up. I'd stutter or I'd give like a really nervous response, and then I'd get caught in that cycle again where it's just affirmed the original belief that I had, and it made me more anxious next time. And it's a spiral. It really is a spiral, and it's very hard to get out of, but it's on you to break. And, a question that always used to bug me: why can I be confident in front of friends and family, and then as soon as I get in front of new people, I was a mess? And it was very frustrating. But then, as I sat with that thought, I then realized, like, well, I am already confident in the right situation. So it's more a case of unlocking it rather than building it. And there's ways to build it as well, and I encourage you to try and build it. But understand that you already possess it to some degree. And you're not a million miles off, right? You're closer than you think. It's more about how do we change how we act and how we think in order to just allow it to flow out. And that's kind of the lens that I want you to see it through. How do we unlock it? It all starts with the inner world. So I mentioned this at the start. People have this kind of conception of confidence where it's this outward expression of how you talk to people, how you hold a room, just being yourself, I guess, or being charismatic, which is true, but that all comes from the inner world. Lost focus. That all comes from the inner world. And you can only act outwardly to the level that your inner world allows. And if you have an issue with being confident in social situations, let's say, then the real issue actually lies with what's happening internally. You can act beyond your level of confidence, but it will be detectable. Energy is detectable. Authenticity is detectable. And when you meet someone and they seem very confident, but you can tell it's a bit of a performance, like it's a little bit of an act. This is what it is. They're acting above the level that their inner world actually wants them to almost perform at, or the confidence they feel they can show. So it's about you keeping promises to yourself. It's about what you do behind closed doors when nobody's watching. It's about you getting control of the bad behaviors and vices and sticking to your word and stacking so many wins through the day, each and every day, and making that a real focus until you know who you are. One thing that's said about confident people is they're very self-assured. So think about that. Self-assured, sure of himself. You know who you are. And that all starts behind closed doors, right? You know you're a man of your word. You know you do hard things. You know you stop participating in all the bullshit. And when you're unsure of yourself, it's very hard to put together a version of you that is sure of yourself to the world. So it all begins with the inner game. Keeping promises, stacking wins, doing hard things on a daily basis. All things, by the way, which are fucking so easy to do. It's very much low-hanging fruit. Get up early. Don't snooze your alarm. Get to bed on time. Don't eat processed bullshit. Don't doom scroll. Set a goal. Write it down. Try and achieve the fucking goal. Like, just be on the pursuit of trying to be a better version of you. Like, you really don't have to have this all perfect. You've just got to start understanding that what happens in your mind is where everything else comes from. And it's the inner world that eventually allows you to express outwardly being confident. And it's not just about the inner game, it is about the outer game as well. and how you interact with people, and you do need to develop communication skills, and you do need to learn how to talk to people, and how to network and how to approach women. But it's solely reliant on the inner world. Okay, so the inner world is the first thing that needs to be fixed and maintained. You don't fix it once. You continue living a disciplined lifestyle, and you continue being ruthless with your word, and trying to keep it all the time, and prove to yourself you are who you say you are and who you want to be. It's a game of identity. Then that will allow you to practice being more confident outwardly, right? Talking to new people, trying new things in conversation. It sounds so silly almost, but that's what people stop doing when they have any level of anxiety. It's like they don't want to talk to new people, and I know this because I lived it. Don't want to approach new people, scared of what they're going to think. Don't want to try new things in conversation. Don't want to try a joke. Don't want to try and speak to someone that looks like a person that I wouldn't normally speak to. Just all these little things where you think about the butterfly effect again, of where that could potentially lead you in your life. You never know. You never know who you're going to speak to. You never know a connection you might make just from starting a conversation. And I can tell you exactly where to start, because this is where my mind was in university. It was like, right, okay, I started working on the inner world. I was still fucking sniffing drugs and doing all sorts, but I started working on that. And I also started with the outer work as well. And it was literally as simple as talk to one person today. Could be someone in the gym, could be someone in the fucking library when I was going to do work, could be someone in the pub, at uni who would fucking drinking all the time. Just sharpen that blade, sharpen that skill, and just become comfortable speaking to new people, and that alone just allows you to just be yourself. Because again, this is about unlocking it, guys. The outer expression, really, you're not trying to be a different version of you. You're trying to unlock who you actually are. That's all you're doing. Anything that isn't that is performative, and it's not authentic. So that's what we're doing, right? We're unlocking it. Become a savage. Become a fucking savage, guys. Now, let's just start with the obvious. Let's let's start with the visual appearance here. Who do you think is more confident out of those two? I don't know why I'm pausing so long. It's a very obvious answer. That is me. That's genuinely me. I know that looks fucking nothing like me, but this alone, the visual appearance, does wonders for how you feel about yourself. It's not vanity, right? You want to look good. You want to like how you look. You want to like your appearance. That gives you more confidence when you're approaching new people. This guy did not want to speak to people. This guy didn't even want to look in the mirror. So build yourself, right? Build your presence. Your physical stature is a huge part. Now, I'm 6'3", so without this muscle, I can definitely have more size. I'm always on the pursuit of more, always after them gains. But without this size, I always felt like I was fucking I stood out like a sore thumb. I can tell you a story about, well, not even a story, just how university was from how I looked. I was always pretty much the tallest guy in the class, in like the seminar rooms and stuff. But because I had such low belief and low confidence, and I was skinny, and I didn't like how I looked, I tried to hide. And I didn't realise this until years later. I could remember doing it, but I didn't realise how the dots were connected. I used to try and like stoop down like this, and I developed like real forward head posture from doing this. But I would try and like make myself smaller because I didn't want to stick out. I didn't want people to like look at me. I just didn't like how I looked. I didn't like how I presented to the world. That was a big thing for me. So the visual transformation, right? But then also, these are some challenges that I've done in this time, going from this to this. 100-mile ultramarathon, ran around the island of Koh Samui in Thailand, went for 2 laps, only did 1.5. The heat absolutely fingered me. 50-miler, sub-3 marathon, Ironman, High Rocks. And The physical pursuit does so much. You've got the visual aspect, right? You've got how confident you are in how you look, but also what's happening at an identity level here. And when we look at this, starting with the inner world, knowing who you are, being sure of yourself, doing these events, the preparation, the event themselves, building this physique, forget about how I look. Just understand the amount of days I've strung together keeping my word. Think about it like that, right? If we know that it starts with the inner world and it's about how self-assured you are, how much you know yourself, how true, your the image of who you want to be and how true that actually is, how true that statement is about keeping your word. Think about how many times, and this is what I talk about, stacking thousands of mini wins, getting up early, hitting your macros, going to the gym, doing your cardio, doing your steps. Think about how many times I proved to myself in this process and this process, yeah, I can do hard things. I keep my word. That's the real benefit here. I showed the visual because it's pretty fucking crazy and it's definitely part of it. But the real work here is what's actually happening beneath the surface. And some extra tips that helped me, and I think will definitely help you. Zoom out. Zoom out. I'm a deep guy. You may have got this from any of my other videos if you've watched my videos. The concept of sonder. Sonder is the realization that every single person on this earth, even though they're passers-by in your life, even though they're extras in your movie, they've got their own life. They've got their own memories, their own network, their own problems, their own memories, their own experiences. That everyone's life is just as complex as yours. And to think that everybody's out there giving so much of a fuck about you and how you present yourself and how you speak and did you stumble a word and all this shit is ridiculous. There's a saying which is bear with me, I will get it. Today's news is tomorrow's fish and chip shop paper. Now, for anyone that's not English and just doesn't have fish and chips, when you get fish and chips, you get it in a newspaper. And they wrap it up. It's like, they don't do that anymore, but they used to do that. They used to wrap it in like yesterday's newspaper. And they give you the fish and chips in that because it's all greasy and stuff. And the point of that quote is like all of the most important shit that everybody's buying the newspaper for and reading, tomorrow it's just going to be used to hold some fucking messy fish and oily chips and shit. Right? So it seems like the worst thing in the world, but over time it doesn't fucking matter. And really you should just stop giving a fuck. And that's easier said than done, but you really have to just constantly remind yourself of this. Presence is key. Anxiety gives you anxiety is the negative prediction of the future, or the pessimistic prediction of the future. Everything could go wrong. No evidence of that, but it could go wrong. And that gives you a disadvantage in the present because of how you feel in the present. The concept of being present and presence, the power of being in the now, frees you of all of those feelings. So going into social interactions or any situation where you need more confidence, being present is an absolute game changer, because by nature, and you've got to practice this, you really do have to practice being present. By nature, or its nature should I say, you're not thinking about the future and you just allow yourself to just be free in the moment. It sounds maybe a little bit woo-woo to anybody that's not kind of, it's not even spiritual, it's just fucking how life works, but don't underestimate that. Do not underestimate that. Being present is so important. Burn the boats of comfort. Lacking confidence and not going after what you want, if you break that down, it's more comfortable to deal with not having what you want later down the line than being rejected for it now, or not going after what you want now, or not going up and talking to this girl, or not suggesting an idea in a meeting, or whatever. And until you burn the boats of comfort, you will always just revert back to this, because it's your default kind of mode of operation. The more you do it, the more it cements. So this isn't really what you want to hear as somebody that's trying to develop confidence. You want it to be easy. The secret tip is you don't actually want it to be easy, you want it to be hard, because that's what creates growth. Burn the boats of comfort. So in university, I was petrified of being asked a question. And the law of attraction, right? Whatever you give your attention to happens. So every time I'd go into a lecture or a seminar room, I was there trying to hide, and I don't want to be asked the fucking question, and I've got to speak in front of everyone. And who got fucking asked every single time? Me. And it was just awful. And what I realized is I need to burn that boat of comfort of me trying to hide away. I need to make it all equal. I need to not care if I'm asked a question, and the way I did that was by answering a question. So in the first 10 minutes of a seminar, whatever question was asked, I would put my hand up, and I didn't even give a fuck about getting it remotely right. I just cared about breaking this barrier, and kind of like dusting the cobwebs off. And then if I got asked another question, which my trick was, if I answered one, normally I didn't get asked one later down the line. She'd ask someone or the tutor would ask someone who hasn't answered a question yet. But it would make it all equal for me, where I couldn't hide anymore. And that really helped me to kind of progress. So anytime you get an anxious thought, anytime you want to do something, you catch yourself in your mind going, oh, actually, I don't know. You've got to understand that no amount of inner world development will ever allow you to fully express outwardly without you actually trying to go out there and express outwardly. Does that make sense? It's not just going to happen. There's still something that you need to do on the other end. You still need to break those patterns and those habitual behaviors as well. You can't just rely on that internal world. There's actually a third book here on presence, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Top 2 books I've ever read, that and The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Talk about them in a lot of videos because they're so relevant. The Power of Now is also another book. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, really, really good book. This is basically the choice that you have of not giving a fuck, and understanding that it is a choice. And you're not just going to become the guy who doesn't care overnight, but over time, if you continually choose that path of I don't really care, you don't give a fuck over time. And that's a very powerful way to be. And the courage to be disliked. I read this book a long time ago. I know it's relevant to this. I'm going to fucking let you down now with a lack of definition or a lack of explanation for this book. But from what I can remember, it's more so understanding that you're just never going to appease everyone. And you shouldn't try. If you're trying to please everyone, by default, you're not pleasing yourself by being yourself. And yeah, great book. So yeah, that's really it, guys. That's really it for confidence. Something I used to struggle with a lot, so it's kind of a video that I really wanted to make. Hopefully people got some value for that. I know someone was asking for it in the comments of another video. So yeah, as always, appreciate you tuning in. Hope you got some value, and I'll see you in the next one.